these guys a little bit. Come out. We had a real good week last week. Then coming in this week, 3 hard days in a row, and we thought we'd back it off a little bit today in terms of the tempo, taking the pads off. We'll have the pads back on tomorrow, and we expect them to come back with a little bit more energy and a higher tempo practice for sure.
Are you starting to see the offense kind of progress as we start working through camp? It seems like you're kind of starting to work through plays that are kind of one step beyond basics.
Yes, and quite honestly, all the plays have been beyond basic. And the reason being is, Eric's throwing a lot at him. He's not piecemealing it, and he's not, starting from the bottom. And we're learning, and we're learning quickly. A big part of it is what we accomplished during OTAs and minicamp. We had a lot of stuff thrown at him during OTAs and minicamp. I thought the guys handled it very well. Now coming into this thing, the biggest thing was pick up where we left off. What's the retention? They did a nice job coming back and practicing and playing at full speed.
Hall of Fame game is tonight. Feels like NFL football's back. Will you watch it? You're excited for that? Oh yeah, most certainly. It is kind of fun to have the season starting up in terms, even though it is the preseason. I mean, it's one of those things that right now this is the time where you come out, you develop, you grow. It's not where you during the season where you got to go out and you got to slay the trick or you get eliminated. I mean, this is different. So this is really just still the growth period that you have during training camp.
When you go hard like yesterday and then take a step back today, how important also is to see how the guys recover and kind of retain after yesterday and how they bounce back, even though it wasn't really hard today, but how they bounce back?
Right. The biggest thing, more than anything else, is really about the recovery. We get the data, we get the analytics of what it takes, during practice and how hard they're going. And when you start seeing the guys getting up in the orange and red areas, there's concern. So the timing of this practice worked out very nicely for us. We'll bring them down a notch. We'll take the intensity level off them a bit. The retention part, what they've learned, that's probably the biggest thing that we're trying to get out of this. And so to see the things that we did, minimal mistakes today. There were a couple things that that EB corrected on the fly, that Jack corrected on the fly, but for the most part, I'm really pleased with the way they practice with minimal.
I want to ask you about kind of the big picture with the outside noise. Like for a few years, you've talked about this a lot lately, where there's been a lot of distractions, and then this camp is very different field that's going on. It feels like the team, though, didn't really react. I don't know how to put this. Like, did not have a almost euphoric reaction as opposed to all the negative stuff. Like, how have you seen them handle what has been the reaction here, and what does that say about the respective professionalism of the team?
Well, I think the biggest thing, Bram, more than anything else is, during the last year, the last couple of years, we've always tried to focus in on what's important. We try to stay, in the moment of practice, in the moment of the game, and we really try to avoid that. So I think getting to where we are, the guys had a great reaction to everything. I think, but there's still a task at hand. Just because things have changed, we still have to do our job. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean, that it's going to be any easier. It's still hard, very, very difficult. So we got to continue to keep our focus on preparation and getting ready for the season.
Going back to the intensity of it, have there been days where it's been even a little bit more intense than in the past for you?
Oh yeah.
And why is that?
I think the guys see we've gotten better. You know what I'm saying? This is a different team, a different opportunity going forward. I think a lot of it has to do with just how the guys look at the outlook. I mean, defensively, we're 4 years into it, and based on the way they played last year, based on some of the things that they've done in the offseason, the guys feel really confident about that. Offensively, they see some of the things that we're doing is a little bit different. It's an opportunity to try and be a little bit more explosive in terms of getting the balls in their hands quickly, trying to see if these guys can be these guys, the run after the catch seems to be a big deal for what we can do with the explosive players we have.
And you talked about guys kind of working out on their own after practice and all that. Are there other little things that you see even during practice that's a little bit different that kind of highlights some of where they think they're going?
I think a lot of it too is you see a lot of the communication, and you see it coming from the veteran guys. You see guys like Charles Leno putting his arm around, the young guys and explaining some stuff, and Nick Gates and Andrew Wiley. I mean, these guys like that, and you see guys stepping up with leadership tones when they're talking to each other, Sam Cosme. Then you look at the defensive side and you see the front four, those four guys, the way they've worked together already. And it works right into the communications. You watch, how they've accepted Cody and how Cody's stepping to the forefront of that group. And then the communications aspect of it that you see in the secondary, that's also been a real big thing. And again, a lot of it having Cam back, healthy again, and he and Defoe working together. I think it's a real good group. It's a real dynamic bunch. I think limited mistakes. I mean, can you say, based on what you've seen over the years, that we've given up a lot of big throws over the top? No, we haven't, because they're communicating. Guys are making a lot of plays because they're communicating. And I think, again, I spoke to this a couple days ago about I think there's a maturity level now that you kind of hope for and look for to tell you that, hey, we're getting it. We're understanding what it takes.
Coach, can you give us an update on the left guard situation, how you view Chris Paul's performance so far in camp?
Well, I think it's going very well. I mean, just so you guys know, Charles Sadiq tweaked his calf, and so Chris has gotten a couple of more opportunities. Last 2.5 days, he's been running with the one since it happened.
What do you think of Mason Brooks, undrafted kid?
I think Mason is one of those solid guys that's gets overlooked because he only really had 1 year in the SEC at Ole Miss, and I think he's a guy that the more he works, the better he's going to get. I mean, he's still a ways away. He's got a lot of work to do, but there is a good toughness, there is a good grit to who he is as a young player.
Undrafted guys in general, generally there's one or two make a roster every year throughout the league. What's it take for an undrafted guy to get noticed and make a team?
Well, is to be consistent. I mean, if he gets your attention, he's got to do it from that point on. He's gotten a lot of people's attention. You just got to do it from that point on. It's the same thing at any position. Is he consistent? And then when he gets his opportunities to play, how does he play, and is he ready to play?
With Quan Martin, a lot in the spring, we saw him working with kind of the ones and kind of all over the place. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like his role in camp has maybe been a little bit more defined. Is that?
Who's that?
Quan Martin.
Oh, Quan, yes.
Yeah. Is that? Am I reading that right, or is it? Has he been kind of more are you focusing more on one area right now, or is he?
Well, first I'll say, his role really isn't defined.
Okay.
Yes, we've had him working at a couple of spots primarily, not just the one spot. But he's been doing some stuff with the nickel/Buffalo position. He does some stuff at the safety spot. So he's continuing to work, continue to get those opportunities. But I wouldn't say, we've defined it and said this is who you are and stay there, because he does work with the different groups. And you see him with the ones and the twos, and you've seen him also with some of the three work as well. We're just trying to get him as much work as we can. At the same time, we have a core of guys that we're trying to get him assimilated to so that he's now part of that group of guys.
Hi, so I'm not sure you saw, but there was a picture circulating around social media earlier this week comparing camp turnout from last year to this year. And I just want to know, in your personal opinion, have you seen a difference in the energy level from fans coming into this year, and how has that impacted the team, if so?
I think there is most certainly a difference, a different vibe, a different feel. And obviously, the sale of the franchise has a lot to do with it. The exciting thing is that they're here, and the players feel it. The players talked about it. I can remember when we all started getting together when we had rookie camp, and some of the veterans came in and they saw this setup and thought, wow, it'd be something if we can put people in that stands for sure. And the next thing you know, we're getting the people out here, and then we see the energy, excitement they bring. I mean, I'm excited for tomorrow being a Friday. A few more people coming out, and then as we get later into camp, seeing more people. And it's been really good for our guys. They really, feel that they're behind us, and that's one of the things that we got to do. Now we got to go out and do our part. We got to play good football. We got to win football games.
Sneaking that cap, is that just day to day, or is that something you think that maybe we heard in the first?
I think it's a day to day thing. I mean, it's something you hope and you want, but it is day to day.
Last one.
Curious, what's up, David Bada?
David tore his tricep. He's getting examined. We'll have an update for you guys. He did it yesterday, so he's been examined or he's being examined, and we'll see where that leads him. Tricep. All right, thank you guys.
You watch Hall of Fame game tonight?
I watched parts of it. We typically get done with our meetings between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, so somewhere in there we'll have an opportunity to catch part of it. All right. Cool. Thank you. Hey, thank you guys. Hey,